Hello there, and welcome to this Advective weather update. Hurricane Hilary has made landfall in Baja California as it moves closer to the Southwestern United States. As you can see in this satellite imagery, there's a huge amount of moisture moving up with this storm. Thunderstorms across portions of northwest Mexico, as well as California and Arizona. And flash flooding is occurring throughout those states, as well as portions of Nevada and Utah. This will, of course, be becoming much more widespread in the coming hours. The official forecast, which is of less concern at this time because we know what it's going to do. It's very, very high certainty. It has just made landfall, as I mentioned. As of 2 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, it had winds of 85 miles an hour, pressure 974. Likely a bit weaker since then because it's been a couple of hours and it is weakening so rapidly. In less than 12 hours' time, it'll weaken to a tropical storm and will move into Southern California as a minimal tropical storm, weakening to a depression at some time during Sunday. It is moving to the northwest at 21 miles an hour, and this is likely to increase as it accelerates northwards. It will degenerate to a post-tropical system over some parts of California or Nevada, and its remnants will move into the Pacific Northwest, where they could bring some additional flash flooding, but the main impacts of that are expected across California and Nevada and western Arizona, of course, as well as Mexico. These are the key messages for the United States from NOAA, and as you can see, high risk of flash flooding across a significant portion of California and far southern Nevada, with a large moderate risk around that, including San Diego, Los Angeles, lots of big cities, millions of people under a moderate or high risk of flash flooding. And this is the key impact of Hilary. The winds, while hurricane force at the moment, are going to drop below hurricane force in the next few hours, and those are only going to impact Mexico. In the mountains, there will be strong winds, perhaps sustained winds of 50 to 60 knots, that's 60 to 70 miles an hour, perhaps gusts to hurricane force in California, but only across high ground. That's greatly increased elevation. Unless you're living somewhere on the side of a mountain, you should be alright for winds. There could be some local tree damage, maybe a power line or two coming down because of tree branches and that sort of thing, but the main impact is expected to be potentially life-threatening flash flooding. We've already seen significant flash flooding with those storms out ahead of Hilary, and this is only going to worsen as the storm moves closer and then moves over California. Additionally, large swells, dangerous surf, rip currents all along the coast of California and Mexico at the moment. So please stay out of the surf unless you are someone who absolutely knows what they're doing in this sort of situation with widespread and significant rip currents, because if you're not a strong swimmer and you don't know how to read the water, they will very quickly pull you out to sea, and then your life is in the hands of the emergency services. And it's best not to put yourself in that situation, of course, especially when they will be pressed dealing with the flooding. This is the rainfall forecast for the next 2 days, and as you can see, Los Angeles, San Diego, 2 to 4 inches, which is a significant amount of rainfall for this part of the world, especially in just 48 hours. Across higher ground, 4, 6, maybe in excess of 10 inches across some of the mountain peaks. And of course, it doesn't take a genius to know that when it flows off the mountains, it gets funneled into the narrow river valleys, and that greatly increases the volume in a smaller area because you're taking that surface area of all the mountainsides, funneling it into a single point. That's why flash flooding happens. And of course, the mountains of southern and central California, very capable of producing devastating flash flooding. Helicopters have been out in and around the area, warning people in floodplains that they need to evacuate or be ready to evacuate at short notice if a flash flood does impact the area where they are. If you don't know if you're in a flash flooding area, first of all, if you're in a low-lying area, perhaps near a storm drain or a dry river, that's a risk of flash flooding. If you're on top of a hill, then you should be alright, but it's good to double check. You can look at flash flooding maps or the official websites. Your local government, your local county will have information. Of course, the local National Weather Service office will have a lot of information as well, and you can keep up to date with all the warnings as they're issued there. If a flash flood is occurring, a warning will be issued, and if what flash floods are possible in the next few hours, a watch will be issued. If you're in a watch, that's when it's time to pay attention. And another thing, you do not want to be caught out while you're driving. You may be fine where you live, but you may have to drive through a flash flood area to get to work or to get to the shops or to visit a friend. If there are things that you can avoid doing in the next couple of days, don't do them. You should try and have all preparations done by, well, ideally now, but you've got a couple of hours in the morning at the very last second before it's going to get pretty bad for a while with all the rain and flash flooding. Now, most of the main highways should be all right, but it's the secondary highways and the country roads that are of particular concern for flash flooding. If the authorities put up signs saying, road flooded, don't go any further, or flash flood coming, don't move those signs and drive through. It's been reported that some people are doing this, and it may be dry at that particular moment, but there could be a wall of water racing down the valley towards that location. And if you move that sign and go past it and the flash flood hits you, it can pick your car up and carry it off the road in a matter of seconds. From dry to car floating can literally happen in seconds in these sorts of situations. Don't take chances. Don't risk your life. If you come to a closed road due to flooding, turn around and don't drown. It's a saying that saved many lives, and while people don't realise it, flooding is the #1 cause of weather-related deaths in the United States at the moment. One final thing to note before we end this video today, the Atlantic is coming to life. Yesterday we had 5 disturbances. One of them has managed to form into a tropical depression, not expected to impact land, should dissipate in a couple of days. Of more particular interest is the disturbance in the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico system has a moderate chance of becoming a tropical cyclone in the next few days before it moves over Texas. Could bring some much needed drought relief to portions of southern Texas along the Rio Grande Valley. Unfortunately, not much expected across eastern and northern Texas, where the drought is just as severe, if not more so. But the system that has the best chance of becoming a strong tropical cyclone over the next week or so is that one in the Caribbean Sea. It could form before it leaves the Caribbean Sea, which would bring increased wind and rain impacts to Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. At the current time, it's expected to move north and potentially become a significant system as it moves towards Bermuda and potentially the US East Coast, but it's extremely uncertain, long way out, details are unknown. Just that's something to keep an eye on. At the very least, has the potential to bring rip current threats maybe a week or two from now to the East Coast of the United States. There is the off chance that it could drift farther west and become a significant system in the Western Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico, but at the moment, that's not expected. As you can see, it's forecast to turn north by the National Hurricane Center, and that's what should be expected at this time. Now, we hope everyone in California, Nevada, Arizona, and other parts of the Southwestern United States, and of course Mexico, stay safe with this life-threatening and extremely unusual tropical system moving in. Hurricane Hilary is far from done, and as I said, you have a couple of days of life-threatening flash flooding ahead of you, so please just be extra aware and extra careful when you're out and about, and if you don't have to go somewhere, just stay at home and wait for a couple of days for the storm to pass. Thank you all very much for watching, and have a good day.